You know the slides. You know where to find us. If anybody wants, I'll send them these. You know the mission. I think you know the sponsors. The school paying its dues. Still got to get some sort of raffle system built, but JetBrains will give us licenses if we do. And yeah, I saw Kevin, who was bringing us. He kind of helped us get going to platform science. I saw he moved to Facebook, so I'll have to reach out to him. He hasn't been at a meeting in a little while, and see if we still have a home at platform science. But when it's time to do that again. But anyway, still thankful for the home they offered us before. Okay. And thank you very much, Mitch, for presenting today. As if any of you saw the comments on the meetup, you saved that I was kind of reaching out and had someone that was interested in doing Kotlin 1.4 stuff, but this is the third month in a row they kind of said at the last minute they couldn't do it, so they kept leaving me hanging. So yeah, if anybody's got things to share, I'm sort of myself working on a bunch of little things, but nothing's ready to present yet. But you know, you can present anything, and it's always kind of you're working on. It's cool to see. Sandeep, if you're working on SDKs, anything about you can share about how you guys implement them or how you do things without dependencies, all sorts of stuff. So.
Well, I wish.
And I'm gonna kind of reaching out on gonna reach out on Slack, and there's a few things I think would be cool to get talks on. Arrow is sort of a cool functional library for Kotlin that's getting a lot of attention. We were just talking about Jetpack Compose. So the other thing is if you don't have anything to speak on, but if there's something you are actually particularly interested in seeing a talk on, let me know, and I'll go see if I can find somebody. Why not? Can't make any promises, but we'll try. So. But yeah, definitely thanks, Mitch, for saving today's meeting. And yeah, we don't really need sponsors right now because we're not getting pizza, but for the future, if anybody wants to just put money in the SD Kotlin bank account, we'll save it and use it for later. Okay, so is anybody hiring?
I guess yes, we are looking for a junior Android developer.
Nice.
So where do I put the link? Where do I share the link?
You're welcome to post it right in the, you can go to the group's Meetup site, and a few recruiters have posted, their stuff as comments just on the group. I don't know. I haven't, it's our group. So does anyone find that kind of annoying or spammy? I mean, we can never really ask, and we haven't gotten enough of them that I've bothered with it. But I'm definitely open to opinions, or if anyone wants to say we should do it a certain way, to sort of let people share jobs and opportunities. I think it's good to have some forum for people to do it because, hey, maybe somebody's in need. But I'm not, particularly married to how we go about it. What do people think? Are those posts on the page good? We have a mailing list. We can open it up for posting there. Would you be open to job opportunities being sent out on our mailing list?
I like Slack.
Any opinions?
I like Slack.
Slack's a good one. We have the Slack channel. Is everybody in the Slack channel? Who's not in the Slack channel? Water's warm. Come on in. Okay, yeah, well, Sandy, we can connect after, and feel free to post it to the, it doesn't sound like there's any strong objections. Somebody would probably say if they didn't like it, or if someone does have an objection, chime in now, or for the whole piece. But yeah, right on the homepage there works, and if you want me to, get something out to the mailing list, let me know.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, especially, these days, the economy's kind of all over the place. It's good in some sectors, not so good in others.
Yeah.
You never know when. And especially if you're looking for junior people, that's great. I think a lot of times companies, it's just always, 10. I want somebody with 20 years of Kotlin experience and 40 years of Java experience, and you see those job posts, and it's, we got to get junior developers in and learning, and otherwise, it's the only way to get a pipeline going. So it makes me really happy to hear that you're hiring for a junior dev, because I'm passionate about mentoring with the school and everything. I think that's great. We need to build that pipeline so we have a strong industry and get to work with other cool people for a long time. Awesome. Anybody else hiring? Or is anybody looking for work? Okay. All gainfully employed. Glad to hear. Or gainfully unemployed if you are. If that's what you want to be. Okay. Other meetups. Anybody know of any other goings on? I know there's a virtual Kotlin meetup that's being posted in Slack there, and I think the London meetup meets on virtually now as well. I think they're a big group. I imagine their time is more afternoonish or something for us. So it depends on what your schedule's like if you could attend that one. But I know those are out there. So yeah, those are on Slack. I think all these other user groups have channels like we do, and I imagine probably more than a few are going virtual. So you can search for channels in Slack for different cities. And so I think there's a Brazil one. They're all in San Francisco. LA. I don't think LA has one, but I think San Francisco does. So there's that's in our time zone. Hopefully they don't. I don't think they do it on the first Wednesday. If they do, forget I mentioned it. But yeah, so that's a place to get. If you're not getting enough Kotlin from these, seek out more that way. All right. Anything? Just general announcements. Anything else anyone wants to share before we move on?
Yeah, I think I have a small announcement as well.
Cool.
For the past 2 or 3 months, we have been working with the Google Developers Group, and we have completely transitioned to the new community platform, which is based on Bevy. And it's a virtual platform for all sorts of events. And because of that, they were able to script it so that we can, based on interest, find presenters. We've got presenters from Google by itself. Inside presenters, we've got Google developer experts, because we are no longer an Android-only group. It is the only group in San Diego County, which is the Google Developers Group. For example, during our last month's meeting, which is always the last Wednesday of the month, we had a presenter, a Google developer expert, who presented on TensorFlow Lite on Raspberry Pi. Then for visual recognition, then we had previously somebody presenting on Firebase and how you can use it to track the behavior of mobile users. And of course, we have the Dev Fest, during which Jan McCullough, which is the foremost expert on Compose, presented. But that talk was very technical and very fast-paced, so I would not recommend it. But in general, the place to go for each and every Google technology, AI, ML, back-end stuff, front-end stuff, is actually this new community platform. I will send the link in the chat right now, and I will send a link and a reminder for our next event on Meetup, because we are no longer using Meetup. We have transitioned completely, so I will just post on the Kotlin Meetup.
Awesome. I'm going to go subscribe. So what's the name of the other platform?
I will send a link right now.
Yeah.
In the chat. It is an
extensive. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It is not an exclusive platform. If you pay for it, you can actually sign up, and they have everything. They have their own video producing platform, the studio. So I just posted the link in the chat.
Oh, that was the link you're. Okay, I heard the bloop, and I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll check it out. So do you think I mean, we're on Meetup, we pay for it, it's getting paid for by the school, so we can pay for a different one. So since you've experienced that platform and Meetup, do you have any opinions about do you think that it would be a good fit for us to move to that platform?
That platform is hands down the much better one, because from the ground up, it has been designed as a virtual community platform. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but Google took care of us, and we went through a couple of seminars, so we are quite well prepared. The other thing is that Google was sponsoring the pro version of the accounts on Meetup so far, but they will stop sponsoring it anytime soon, the latest by the end of the year. So everyone will be on their own.
That makes sense. Well, we're on our own already, so maybe, yeah. Thanks for the pointer. I'll go check it out, and I don't know. We can make any rush decisions, but like I said, I'm not particularly. I've honestly never thought Meetup was a great platform. It was just kind of the platform that was out there. So if there's competition, that's good, and I'm not against checking it out. And if it makes sense, we can move if people think that's going to work out better. So I know you mentioned there's sort of a there's a community of speakers there, and that'd be cool to help facilitate that too. So awesome. All right. Anything else?
Actually,
go ahead. Yeah.
Actually, during our development fest, which is the biggest community event of the year, which was the weekend of the 16th and 17th of October, I put up some requests, and the list of speakers filled in so quickly that I had to take the first 3, schedule it for Saturday afternoon, and not reply or politely reply to 14 more.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good problem to have. I'll take it. I'll just queue them up for the next 14 months, and then and then kick back and let the talks roll in. That sounds good. Cool. All right, I will check it out. Anyone have any other announcements? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right, so news for the month. Some pretty cool things. We got 1.4.2 RC. It's just good bug fix release for Kotlin 1.4, so I think that's good, especially with all the backend changes that continue to stabilize it. Kotlin X Serialization 1.0, that's a pretty cool framework. It's a compiler plugin, so we're doing some build time generation of the serialization. You save that reflection cost, so that's a pretty good library. And they keep talking about that they're going to at some point open up this plugin API from the compiler, and they're not there yet, and it's going to be a while. But people are, JetBrains is, of course, and others are, like with Jetpack Compose, people are digging in and figuring out how to make some compiler plugins anyway, accepting that whatever APIs they're using may not be stable, and they're having to do some figuring out without a whole lot of great documentation or clear interfaces, but they're doing it, and it seems like an interesting way to kind of add compile time features, add features to your programs at compile time. So cool to see Kotlin X serialization out. Pretty sure I'll be using that. We got coroutines 1.4.0, which brings sort of state flow and shared flow. I've been sort of investigating and just trying to get up to speed on functional reactive programming. Great book on the Manning library about it. And I think one thing I was about to investigate next, I think state flow and shared flow could sort of be used for functional reactive programming. So I haven't had a chance to delve in and answer that question yet, but that's something I'm sort of checking out. So anyway, we're already using shared flow and state flow when they were in the this work I'm doing at SCIC with the in their sort of, what do they call it, experimental or early access. They changed the name of it. It used to be experimental, but now it's like they changed the annotation you do. But so we're already using it in that state, but now it's gone final, so that's pretty cool. We've got, since the last meeting, they announced that 6-month release cadence. So I think that's huge, because it's going to be like Java, It's, in a way, Java is doing these like 6-month releases and saying like, oh, we're still relevant, we're still cool, we got new features. And I mean, I think it's good if they were doing that on the virtual machine. I almost think all these new features they're throwing out are just going to ultimately just make more and more of a, I don't want to say mess, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's certainly, for a language like Kotlin that wants to sort of maintain interop, it's a bit disruptive. It's like, it'd be better if you just keep giving us better and better VMs, but oh well. but so yeah, we'll see what comes of this release cycle. Maybe just more. I'm looking forward to just more stable or more predictable sort of new stuff, where instead of these like 1.4 really long life cycle between 1.3 and 1.4. So I think that'll be cool. There was a really large, I say huge because there was just, I don't know, 600 something message thread. Kotlin Ask Me Anything on Reddit. And for those that joined a little later, we were chatting earlier about, the whole Kotlin team was on there, and there's some juicy reveals, I think, like that maybe one was that JetBrains may be looking at Jetpack Compose for desktop, like porting it to be usable on the desktop, which I think is pretty neat because the Java frameworks have been not really evolving much lately. They're sort of in the old like non-reactive, imperative, non-declarative, object-oriented, mutable state kind of a way. And these newer UI, a lot of the newer frameworks like Swift UI and Jetpack Compose, but like React and Vue, and it seems like everybody's picking up on the more declarative, functional, immutable component libraries for UI. So, but Java doesn't really have an answer for that. So if they port for the desktop, so if they port, or Kotlin doesn't either. So if they port Jetpack Compose to the desktop, then there'd be a pretty compelling alternative to Java FX and Swing, maybe, and SWT, and yeah, those are your kind of current choices. So that was a little reveal that was in that AMA. I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. So there's other things in there where I think they reveal some things. So it's a good thread to go check out and read. A lot of great conversation there. Spring Foo is still evolving. I like to talk about that one because, again, we're talking about DSLs, and on top of the Gradle DSL, it's just another DSL. And I really believe in this move towards DSLs instead of annotation-driven programming. I think it's going to lead to, faster, safer programs, shorter startup times, et cetera. So I do server-side programming mostly. I use Spring a lot, so I'm pretty excited that Spring may sort of move away from the annotation-driven approach to a DSL-driven approach. I think that'll bring good things. So they came out with a new version of that project, and they're adding support for like Spring Security. So they're adding DSLs for some of the not just Spring Core, not just the core container, but the other Spring family of projects that have DSLs like Spring Batch and Spring Security, and there's many Spring State Machine. They've got all kinds of so many frameworks in that family now, and it's exciting to see that they might be creating those DSL for those, because that's just all the more likely that they graduate out of sort of a experimental incubating project into maybe the next way that we do. We build Spring apps, declare dependency injection, how everything wires together. And then there's a cool blog post on what's coming along with Coin in terms of dependency injection on Android. And we've never really talked about Kotlin and Dagger much. So there's some other neat talk ideas. If anybody wants to do like, how you use Dagger from Kotlin or how you use Kotlin, that would be interesting talks I'd be interested in. But Coin's another one that I'm a little more familiar with. And so they laid out a blog post of what they're up to. I think the more I dug into Coin, the more I realized the DSL they have doesn't scale super great. So as I wrote applications with it that got bigger and bigger, I started finding myself tripping over the DSL, like getting confused, and just didn't scale as well as Spring's annotation, and I think Spring Foo would. So I'm interested. It was interesting to see what they're going to do next, and that's another reason I'm interested in some of those others. Spring on Android isn't really I don't know. Is anybody using Spring on Android? I know they've got some support, but kind of a big framework to be putting on a mobile app. No? Nobody doing Spring on Android? Okay. That's what I thought. And let's see. And then, Dave Leeds, he joined our meeting a couple of months ago. He's in Colorado, but he writes this great set of kind of illustrated examples in Kotlin. And so he just did one on enum classes, and that came out this month. So I think it was in the Ask Me Anything, or maybe it was in the Kotlin 1.4 event. People were asking if somebody somewhere I saw asked if he was going to, it was Twitter, if he was going to bundle them all together and make a book. And he said he hadn't thought about it. It'd be a neat book. But if you've seen I showed his when we talked last month about variants in Kotlin. I think he has a great series of articles on generics and variants that and his illustrations are a lot of fun. So I think that's another way to learn Kotlin and get an understanding. And I found his articles helpful myself. So cool to see that he's making new ones. And that's what I got for news. So y'all know we're on Twitter. We're on Slack. If anybody's not there, come join us. It's a great community. We mentioned last time, but just to repeat it, we're on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, maybe I haven't checked lately, but if we get 100 subscribers, we got a ways to go. We get a cool, YouTube/SD Kotlin instead of YouTube/channel/ blah 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 here. So get all your friends and family to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And slides go up on Speaker Deck under SD Kotlin. And about trying Kotlin online. We've talked about that. So let's get to it. Mitch, thanks again for doing the talk today. Kotlin static analysis tool. I've been playing around with this, so I'm excited to see what you have to share.
Nice. How's the audio? Sounds good?
I think so, yeah. Everybody else?
Okay,
a little
cool.
quiet, but I can hear you.
Is
I
that
can turn
better?
my volume up.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you've played with it a little bit?
I have it installed in the IDE, and it gives me warnings, and I fix them. But I haven't looked into like extending it. I haven't built it into Gradle or anything like that. So I haven't tried to integrate it with anything more than just the IntelliJ Detekt plugin.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, it took a while, honestly, between first I tried a library called KTLint, and then I moved to this one for Detekt. And because I started with KTLint, I think installing is very similar, or setting it up is very similar. So Detekt felt easier to me, but now that if I redo it, maybe KTLint could be easier too. I don't know, but I'll show you guys.
Cool.
Okay.
So did you figure out, are you going to do a recording?
Yeah, I got the recording and the slides already. It's been going.
Great.
And then I'll just record my code when I start. I'll switch over to the actual Android Studio screen instead of the Hangouts sharing.
Okay.
That way it's like a full screen.
Okay. I will do if I can real quick, we're supposed to always do a nice little disclaimer that if you are not consenting to being recorded, mute and turn off your camera, which I think everybody's already done. But if you don't even want your avatar recorded, then you have to leave now. Okay, that's the legal ace. Take it away, Mitch! Yay!
Okay, you guys can see the Hangouts or the slides.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
We do have, for the sake of the recording, we do have that little sharing dialogue. They pop up at the bottom that you can hide.
Oh, gotcha.
It's easy to miss.
I can't see it anymore. You guys can see it though?
Yeah,
okay.
I think if you flip over to it and click it, it'll go away, and then it won't end up in your recording at all.
Alright. I don't see it. You are presenting. Stop presenting.
Do you have another monitor?
Yeah.
I think it's on your other monitor.
Oh, you see two screens?
Well, I see the recording tool.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here.
I see, OBS. I see OBS.
Yeah. Let's see. Stop presenting. Let's see. Present now. Let's do a window instead of entire screen. Let's see here.
Now, one thing to be aware of with the window is if you are doing some code in the IDE, sometimes pop-ups and things don't make it into the share.
Yeah, I'll share the other one when I get going. But for the slides,
cool.
Does this look good? It's a single screen now? Oh my.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so Detekt is a static analysis tool that right now I'm working with at my current job. We have a bunch of code that we don't really have code styles or standards set, and there's a variety of tools, at least on Android, and I'm sure most of them apply to Kotlin as well, that you can format your code, you can check for code smells, analysis, formatting, all these different things. And Detekt is one of those tools. I still don't know the complete differences and pros and cons of all the different ones, but the main ones are Lint, which comes already installed for Android or Android Studio, and you should be able to use it for like a Kotlin project too. And most things use Lint too, like iOS has it built in. So Lint has been around for a while. There's also KT Lint, which is Kotlin Lint. And that one, what I was reading, is more for code style and formatting. And then there's also Detekt, which is for more code smells and analysis, complexity, things like that. So right now for my job, I was tasked for complexity. So I went with Detekt, and also I didn't really know what I was doing. So I kind of settled on Detekt. Eventually, I'll probably try to get KT Lint as well as Lint all working together. They shouldn't conflict, and you should be able to work with them all in conjunction. But for the sake of this presentation, we're going to stick with Detekt. Okay, so why should you use it? I kind of mentioned this already. Code reviews, at least at my job, it gets so annoying during like a review, saying like little typos or formatting things, different issues like magic numbers, stuff like that. And if they keep popping up, you don't want to be that guy that has to keep bringing it up and commenting and commenting. It should be, things like that should be taken care of by the computer, so you don't have to worry about them, as well as for your own sanity. Like, I want to be able to push my code and make sure it's clean. So it should help on with your teammates as well as yourself. It helps make your code look more professional. Like, you don't, when you're working at like personal projects, like, I don't know if you guys are like me, but a lot of mine are a mess. But when you're working and getting paid, you kind of want your code to look nice and formatted. So these tools really help with that. It can help with onboarding new hires, because kind of what I mentioned before, it'll say the rules are rules, so it'll prevent them from doing certain things, and they can learn quicker and know how the team actually does stuff. And then auto-correcting too, so it just goes off of what we mentioned. This is copy pasted from the Detekt library itself, their own page on the GitHub, but these are the features that they offer: code smell analysis, cyclomatic complexity. You can suppress stuff, you can configure rules, like create your own custom rules, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And all the rest of them listed here. Okay, so for Lint, this is kind of what I came up with on the spot. I'm not sure if it's correct or not, but when I started playing around with these tools, this is kind of what I felt. Lint has been around for a while, so it's good, stable. It comes with Android Studio, and you can run it from the command line or terminal. You can also run the Gradle tasks on the side, so it's nice to use. You can have it fail on warnings and other stuff, so it is configurable, which is nice. It just, from what I saw and what I Googled around, it doesn't seem as configurable or customizable as Detekt or KT Lint. I know there is some stuff for writing custom Lint rules, and I apologize, but it just seemed like it wasn't as clean as Detekt or KT Lint for doing these type of things. So like, here's an example of a custom Lint XML file that you can throw in there, and you can specify all your different issues that you want. IntelliJ, so this slides are a work in progress, so don't ignore the highlights and the check this too stuff. But IntelliJ is also similar to Lint. I believe it may actually even use Lint, but it runs constantly throughout your code, like spell check. It'll tell you, I think it will tell you if typos are wrong. All these different types of rules and warnings that are great for you to see on the fly. There's also the ability to have inspection profiles, so you can specify all your different Lint rules that you want. You can do severity levels, like if you want it as a warning or if it's going to fail your build, different things like that. Those are great to use. It's just I found that doing the custom profiles, you have to run them manually. I was able to do it from the terminal, but it was giving me weird results. I don't know if I was doing it right or what, but running it manually seemed like it was the way to go. And because I had to run it manually, it didn't seem like something that was that easy to throw into like a build server or automate the process versus what you can do with Detekt or KT Lint. Okay, so this is what I aim to cover today for Detekt. I'm going to run through setting it up and doing like a quick sample project. This stuff isn't the most exciting stuff, but it can be pretty important if you have a bunch of teammates and you're trying to make your code nice, and you don't. It'll prevent a lot of headaches and a lot of wasted time once it's set up, which is nice. Okay, let me shift screens for you guys so you can see the project, and I'll run you through it if nobody has any questions. Okay. Okay, can you guys see Android Studio?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Let me shift over the recording real quick, so give me a second and then I'll get started.
And then just one other quick reminder about the little pop-up they do at the bottom there.
Oh, it popped up again? All right, I'll get back to it in 1 second.
Yeah, you'll see.
Oh, it's doing both the screens. It's because I did a full screen. That's annoying. Okay. Okay. Recording good. Let me pop back. Oh, I see it right here. You're saying to stop sharing?
Yeah, you can just click hide and that'll go
Got
away.
you.
Otherwise,
Oh, got you.
Sure.
Okay. That was probably,
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Everything looks good. You guys can see Android Studio. It's only one screen.
Looking good.
Okay, cool. Okay. So let's see. So I saved the time of creating an Android project. I haven't done this in a regular Kotlin project, but I'm assuming it's pretty much the same or very similar. So this is from step one. You create an Android Studio project, right? Just bare bones, main activity, regular stuff. What we should do first, I guess, is we should add Detekt to Gradle. So actually, first let's create a module. So we're going to create a separate module in order to throw all our custom rules in. This will help keep the rules outside of your app project or other like you may have a multi-module project. So it's nice to keep your rules separate, and then you can, if you feel like it, you can apply it to certain ones or apply it to all. It gives you more, you can customize it more and just keeps things a little cleaner. So let's see. Where's my module at? That's kind of weird. Import module. Where's the module at?
Yes, you do need to click on the import module to create a new module.
Import module, bring it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Source directory. Yeah, but I want to create a new one instead of bringing one in. I don't know where the create new one was, and I swear it was a pop-up one under here.
Alternatively, what you can do is just click on app and press F4 on your keyboard. That should bring up module
The
settings.
modules, yeah, and do a separate one that way.
And then you can,
Ah, okay. That's a good way to do it. Nice. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know why. I believe it should be under new and then new module, but I didn't see it. But just do a Java or Kotlin library. You can name it whatever you want, but for this, let's just do detect custom rules. Okay, and then class. The classes we're going to use are going to be the actual rules themselves. So for this example, I have one called too many functions. And eventually you'll see, but this rule is going to get mad if there's too many functions within a file. Okay, add them in there. Okay, we're gonna let it do its own thing while Gradle syncs. And I'm gonna get ready. The next step, so is once we get the module set right here, we're gonna start adding to our project. And because the module has its own Gradle, it should have its own Gradle stuff in it. We're gonna have 3 different spots to put detect related things. There we go. Okay. Okay, so let's start. I like to start with the settings.gradle, the main one under the project. So we already have, when you do the new module, it already creates the module name for you and includes it, which is great. That's exactly what we need. So this one looks good. So we don't need to do anything there. If you're having problems detecting the rules, then you should check here and make sure your module is actually getting included. Now let's go to the actual build.gradle of the project, and we'll start adding the bulk of the things that we need to for detect. So the first one is the detect version. You can look up what it is on what they currently have, but I believe this is the current one. You need to add in the Maven repository. So Maven plugins M2. Dependencies, there's no dependencies here, which is good. We need some plugins, so we throw in the Detekt plugin. I like to specify the version using it up here, so that way you can just grab it everywhere. You throw in this groovy DSL. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but JVM target, and it has a groovy DSL comment on it. Okay, so now you could probably do it under all projects, but there's also a portion for sub projects, and this is going, I haven't played with messing with these, but for the sake of this one, I just stuck with sub projects. So you create a sub project, you're going to add some more detect stuff. And then once we have all the plugins set up, we're going to do the actual detect right here. Okay. Ignore that stuff for now. Okay. We'll get rid of reports as well. We'll just keep them here. Okay, so what's good is you get the reports too. So you can get HTML, XML text, and whenever you run a build, it'll spit it out of all the different failures or warnings, analysis, and all your different varieties. And then you can change them by just setting them to false. But for the sake of this, we'll just set them all for true. Fail fast is set to true. I really don't know. It just fails early on if it finds an issue. And I don't know if this is still an issue, but I believe I had to go on Stack Overflow and I found someone recommending to keep this true if you're writing custom rules. I could be wrong on that, but I'm just going to stick with that for now. This config file, we'll create it in a little bit, but this is where all of the rules that Detekt comes with is going to be stored in this YAML file, and that will pop up in a little bit. And then within that config file too, you can also change thresholds, different warnings, things like that. It's pretty much where you're going to set up the majority of the rules that you want to play with. And then if I copy pasted everything right, that should be good for the actual build Gradle file itself. So let's sync that. The only other Gradle we need to worry about, actually I lied, there's 2 more. We need the app Gradle. So within here, we're going to have to add the project, the module to the dependencies. So just a little bit of copy pasting. Okay, so, and I need to make sure that's right. So this is copied from the other one. Let's change that to detect custom rules. So that way it matches our module that we created. Bam. Okay, this should be referencing our detect version. Let me make sure I copied that correctly. Okay, cool. Okay, so that should be everything for our app Gradle. Let me just double check real quick. Yeah, that should be everything for the app Gradle. Okay, so now let's go to the actual module Gradle for the detect rules that we created. Okay, Java library, D. This I removed. I forget why, but I was having issues, and I don't know if it was just luck or what, but removing it helped fix an issue that I was seeing. So we're going to remove that. Let's add JCenter. And there's a few more that we have to throw in here for the dependencies themselves. Compile only for our detect version. And then we're going to throw in JUnit as well as the rest of the detect stuff. Okay, so if I copy pasted everything right, that should be everything that we need to get this project going for detect, at least Gradle-wise. Let it sync up. Okay. Okay, I'm assuming everything is good here. All right, so you can see now if we look on the Gradle side under app verification detect, let's double click it and this should run detect itself. I'm breezing through these things, but it took me a while of like playing with different stuff to figure all this out. And maybe I'm just bad at reading, but okay, what do we get? Failure. So it wants our YAML file for that config that we saw within one of these build, or say, yeah, this guy right here. So it wants this YAML file under config detect YAML. Did it create it for us or not? I do not see it here. Let's check if we can find it with the double search. And if not, we can copy paste it. I forget if there's a way to generate it or not, but for the sake of this, we're going to create our YAML file, and you can find these online as well. It's just a copy paste. So for the sake of this, to get it going, let's throw the YAML under a config file. Yeah. Okay. So give me a second and I'll copy paste it over. Okay, config, here we go. Right. Add it. Bam, bam. Okay. That should be everything that we need here. Okay, so this is the YAML file. It's honestly super neat. I've never really played with many YAML files before, but it seems nicer than XML and other stuff, so I kind of like it. For these, let me run it real quick and then I'll show you. Hopefully, cross my fingers, it works. Okay, so we got a failure with one weighted issue, and that's using these YAML rules here. So it's good that we actually got the failure. So once you run the detect under the verification, the app verification detect, it's going to give you the build output, the report, and then you got your 3 that you specified here, right? So if you set any of these to false, it'll get rid of them once you rerun it. I don't know if it'll delete it. You might have to delete it personally. But since it's the build, I'm assuming it'll get deleted. Okay, so I don't know if I'm sharing my whole monitor or my just this window, but let's see if Chrome will pop up for you guys. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay, cool. So this is what you get with the Detekt report. This is what's going to spit out for you. I don't know if there's a way to customize this report or do things. I haven't really looked that far into it. But it's nice because, one, it's super quick. Running lint and the manual code inspections or the profiles takes 10 to 20 minutes on our work project. And this, when I run it, is under 10 seconds, 10 to 15. So it's something that's super quick, and which is nice to see. So you could see one of the YAML rules that it came with was new line at the end of the file. So it's complaining about this. Some give you exactly where it's at with the line statement or exactly where the code is. So it's nice to see. Let me bring it back. And then you also get your complexity report with all your different stuff. It's up to you if you really want to look at it or not and dig into these things, but it's nice to see. So let's jump back to the project and let's start looking through the different things. So there's a lot of different rules here, and these are specified by default, I believe. Don't take my word on it because this is copy pasted, so I may have changed a few things, but for the most part, these are all the same. I couldn't find exactly how to disable all of the rules all at once. Like, let's say you wanted to enable one rule at a time or something. So my solution was just to replace the active true with an active false, and vice versa if you want to flip them all on. They get separated into their different groups, and there's some stuff that's confusing. Like one is wildcard imports, and I honestly don't know I don't know the difference between all of them, but there's like a no wildcard imports right here that falls under formatting, and then there should be another wildcard import that falls under something else under here, style. There's a few other ones. I think unused imports is one too. Yeah, unused imports too. Probably has a few of those as well. So one, you have to make sure that if you're enabling the rule that it's going to be true, and then you also need to go to the parent or the parent grouping and set that one to true as well. Otherwise you'll do what I did, and then you'll be like, why is this not working? And then you'll figure it out after 30 minutes. Okay, so that's the main YAML file, right? We already have our rules enabled, and I'd like to show you just real quick of certain things that annoy me that this is good for, Detekt is really good for. So one, let's do this. Okay, so now we have math.py, and now it's no longer used. And now let's do, it may complain, but let's do a wildcard import too. Okay, so now if our YAML rules are set, then it should complain about these as well. Let's see, so yeah, we had one weighted issue before, and now we have 3. So let's pop this open and see what it looks like. Open a browser, Chrome. Bam, bam. Okay, cool. Unused imports, bam, wildcard, import, bam. So if you're like me, you don't want to have to go through and do all these things all the time. Now you can do the optimize import on Android Studio, and I'm sure the other IntelliJ stuff, but you have to worry that maybe it is removing things or different stuff like that. So Detekt is good because this took me a long time to figure out, honestly. But you can do auto formatting for stuff like this. Now wildcard, I don't know if it can fix wildcard if you're using stuff and it'll choose the right import. I haven't checked that. But unused imports is one, and you can see which ones are by autocorrect true. Those are the ones that it can't fix. So unused import is, there we go, active and autocorrect true. So you may be asking, if autocorrect is true, why didn't it fix it? And I was asking that question for a long time too. So the problem is you need to add the -format dependency underneath your Gradle, and then you need to also add it to your Detekt Gradle underneath the Detekt subproject. Let me see if I have the formatting in here, because I may have copy pasted it or not. All right, let me find it on the other project. Any questions so far while I'm looking? I guess not.
No, it's looking good.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me find where it's at. Alright, let's throw this in here actually right now, and then if it doesn't fix it, then we'll go looking for it. So I hate to waste time doing this. Okay, so we're gonna add autocorrect in here. Yeah, I'm gonna cross my fingers that it's gonna fix it, but I feel like I'm missing format somewhere in here. And that could be because it's on the other project that I was working on. But let's see. Negative. Okay, let me go hunt down which is the dependency I need to add. I have it in my GitHub, so it shouldn't take too long. Let's see. Nope. Okay, there you go. And this project too is available on the GitHub. I put it, the link in the slides at the end. So if you guys do want to use it. And then I found another project that already has a template KT-lint and Detekt as well as lint with possible custom lint rules. I don't know, but it's got those three already built into it. Okay, so this is the one I was looking for. This is the important one that you need for autocorrect to detect dash formatting. So this is under the app build.gradle, and it's under dependencies. So let's throw that in there, and it's under that one. Bam. Okay, cool. Let's sync it, and then we'll cross our fingers again when we run detect, and hopefully it should fix it. Okay, let's rerun this. Okay, bam. So it got rid of that one for us, but it gave us 6 weighted issues. Now that, I don't know why, when we didn't have that many before. We can check out why, but you can see it did get rid of the unused import, which is nice. So for our project at work, we have a ton of like unused imports and things like that. And personally, I'll probably go through by hand and like replace them. Well, actually, I could use Detekt now and just go through them and have them all fixed all at once instead of going through and checking. I don't know if there's a built-in way for Android Studio to go through and do all imports. I know you can optimize. I don't know if you can do optimize for everything. And then, like I said, you have to worry about other problems happening. Okay, and then if you look at Detekt, it got rid of the no unused import wildcard. Okay, that's kind of weird. So you need to keep that in mind. I guess I didn't realize that, but it did report the unused import even though it did autocorrect it. So, oh, sorry, that's just the wildcard. So it got rid of the other one, which is good. So the wildcard, because it is the wildcard, it doesn't know how to correct it. So that's the only reason why it showed up. Okay, so we are good there. So let's see what we've gone through. We've gone through Gradle, running for the first time, the config file, autocorrecting and formatting. So now let's go to actually writing a custom rule. So this is what's good about Detekt, and this is what I've been spending a good amount of time at work doing for the last week or so. I've been doing a lot of regular expressions. It's good to, I'm definitely bad at them, but it's nice to learn, and they're super powerful. It's just, it's easy to get lost and see, it's sometimes things don't match up and you wonder why, and it takes a long time, and that's currently what I'm struggling with. But once you do get it working, Detekt is great for the regular expressions as well as just setting up any custom rule. And they are unit testable, which is nice. So let's jump into it. Okay, so there's a couple steps here. We already have our app module, right? And now we have our detect custom rules module. We have everything all working nicely with detect. So we want to go and add that custom rule that I mentioned before with the too many functions, which we named here, right? So we already have our class, right? But how do we start creating the custom rule itself? Well, we already have the dependencies for the detect test stuff, so we can write the unit test, and then as well as writing the rules to the detect libraries in for that, for this module. So that shouldn't give us any issues when we actually start to write it. There's one thing that I saw in KT-Lint as well is when you're writing custom rules, you need to create this thing called a provider, like a custom rule provider, and that is what's going to package up all your rules into a jar and is used by Detect in the project to actually read from those custom rules. And in order to complete all of that, you also need to add another package or directory called resources meta-inf-services. So let's add that one first so I don't forget. And when I was doing this project, I actually I spent a long time figuring out why my custom rules weren't working, and I was banging my head on it for a couple hours. And then I realized that I didn't include my file that I created underneath the meta-inf-services package. So that is something that when setting up Detect is that you need to be aware that spelling matters. And there can be things that are a pain to set up, and I don't know if there's a way you can run it from the command line, and then you can probably use the stack trace on Gradle and get some hints. But a lot of the times I find that it could be hard to figure out what's going on. Personally, I didn't do it for this, but that's my own experience when trying stuff from Gradle. Is sometimes I get confused in figuring out exactly what the issue is. Okay, so we created.
Now, does that need to go into source main resources, or does it just go right under source?
Sorry, yeah, I didn't create the resources package, but good call. I just saw that too.
I know you were mentioning that, and then I didn't see you do it, so I was like,
see what I mean? It's so easy to mess up.
Yeah.
Let's see. There we go. Okay. Bam, bam. Okay. Drop that in there. Okay. Resources. And thank you for calling that out, though. See how easy it is to miss it. Okay. So now the last thing we need to do, and this is just copy pasted from the Detect GitHub itself. So I'm not doing anything magic here. I'm just copying what they're telling me to do. So we're going to create a file. Let me copy the name from them. Actually, I'm just going to copy paste it over. Oh, it's easier. Okay, so I copy pasted from my file or my other project and pasted in here. This is the name of it right here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure the package name aligns with, or the module name, well, I guess package name aligns with what your custom, we'll create in a second, but we're going to create a custom rule set provider under here. So we just need to make sure that these packages line up. So copy this over and then put that in there to double check. There we go. Okay, so if I copy pasted everything correctly and I put it under the right stuff, then it should all work. Okay, let's go and create our custom rule set provider. I'm just going to do a class and then custom rule set provider. Bam, bam. We're going to add it. Okay. Now this extends rule set provider. It doesn't, there we go. Okay, right here. So not doing this, but doing the unit tests, you need to make sure that you're importing the right library. So just make sure it's the GitLab, this one, Detekt stuff. Otherwise you'll have problems and you'll wonder why things are red squiggly. Okay, So for this one, we need rule set and we need instance. We need both these guys. Okay. And instead of the get, I just went like this. Okay. So this is what is going to, you specify all your rules under an ID. I'm sure there's cases where you can do multiple IDs and when you want to use them and, I don't know, apply them to certain modules or different stuff like that. But I haven't played with that, and for this case, we're just going to stick with one ID with its rule set. So let's go and change this to detect custom rules. Bam, bam. Okay. And then, oops. Get rid of this return rule set. Just make it equal. There we go. Okay. And I don't have tofib rule. That is one that I'm working on currently. And what that is we have, instead of using copyright, like the Android Studio copyright for some reason, we have a top of the file banner. I mean, most companies use them, but instead of using the actual Android Studio built-in copyright, we have our own stuff. So that's what I'm using the regular expressions on. I'm just making sure everything matches, because we keep changing what we want it to be, and then we'll have our PR, a review, and I'm getting tired of marking that this doesn't match, or there's an extra space or an extra tab or something. So this is what these rules are good for, and I believe you can achieve the same thing with KT-lint as well. Okay. Why are we getting an issue here? Oh, sorry. Wait. Oh, there's two. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So you solved that problem. You can have multiple. You can have multiple rules. So. Let me just copy paste that again. So tofib rule is one example, then you have too many functions is another one. So you can create, I don't know if there's a limit, but you can create as many rules as you want and throw them all in this list. And then I believe, I don't know, since there's one instance, but you may be able to create different rule set providers and with different rule set IDs and add them in. But you'll see when this ID also comes into play. Right here, and then as well as the YAML file, that config YAML file that I showed you guys. Why is this giving me a problem? Because I haven't set as a rule yet. Got you. Okay. Okay. So that custom rule set provider is good. We already did our meta inf and referenced our custom rule set provider. Now we have our list, so now let's actually create the custom rule itself. It's going to extend rule. So this is where you have to be careful, make sure you're not including this one, but instead you're importing the Detekt API. It's going to complain that you need to implement members. Bam, bam. So the issue is what you guys saw on the Detekt output right there. So you can specify like code smell, like different severity levels. There's different debt, so amount of time it's going to take to fix. I think you can name it too. I just name it, or yeah, I think this is where it tells you where the issue is. So I just name it the class name, but you can name it all different types of things if you want. So, and I believe lint is very similar to, I was looking at the custom lint rules, and the same idea. You can do severity. I believe there's that too for lint rules. Okay, let me just do this because I don't want to undo my formatting. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. You got code smell. You can do all these different ones as well, and you can customize everything to your own project. And then the debt, for right now, I don't really care about it. It's maybe something in the future I'll look into if we have to do reports and see how long things will fix. But for right now, I just do 5 minutes for our work project. And this one's 20. Okay. Okay, so this is your issue, but now you need to actually figure out when you're going to report that issue, meaning when something in your code is wrong. And I'm still exploring this as I go, but one of the main ones that I found, and you can find it on the Detekt custom rule example. I believe the too many functions is one of their examples, or else it's under a Medium article. But you should be able to find this one exactly, and there's a few other ones too. I've also found that while I'm writing these custom rules, because I don't know that much, I'm learning from the Detekt library itself when I'll go and look at their rules and see what they're using to do different things. But you can see when you actually go through, there's all different visit type stuff, like visit comments. Today I was writing one, or I want to make sure the kdocs are correct for our functions. So there's like a visit function. I think there's a visit function something. Yeah, visit function type, visit name function, visit function type. So I did name function, and then from that KT name function, you can go and you can get a bunch of different stuff, like I think it was a kdoc or like comment or kdoc comment, one of them. And then from there I can parse through the kdocs and make sure that they're formatted properly to how our team wants them. So there's all different options. I haven't explored nearly, I've only looked at like 2 of them or 3 of them. For this one, we're just going to do visit KT file. So when you run Detekt, it's going to visit the Kotlin file. And I'm assuming it's not going to do any other file. I'm assuming it's going to do a Kotlin file. I haven't tried it personally, but that's what I'm going for. One thing that I did find, and maybe I'm just doing it incorrectly, but at my work project, I found that the super call was causing redundant calls to happen a lot when I was going and visiting the named function. So that's something to check out. For this example though, the super call is in here. Or I just leave it in. Okay, so I'm gonna copy paste these. And normally I usually put my constants up top, but I'll just keep it down here for now. Okay, so that's what we were seeing before, and this should hit the Kotlin file. And then what's cool too is like you can get stuff from here. So from this KT file, you can get like the text. And I don't know if this is the right way to do it, but like you can parse through different text and find things. You can split by lines and do stuff. So there's a lot of good things you can do. You can probably visit all different stuff. They all break down into different like PSI elements and things like that. So it seems like there's a lot of possibilities you can do with these custom rules. Pretty much anything that you want. From at least that's my observation on them. Okay, so what I've been doing personally is I've been doing a create issue function, and then I just add this stuff for the report under that create issue. But for this example, I'm just going to keep it in here. So report is when you actually see the issue, right, and you want to report it to that Detekt file. We set it up as the code smell. You can do the other ones, I believe, like I'm assuming you can do more. So defect, let's see if defect pops up. Maybe not. Okay. Well, there's probably other ones in code smell. I haven't really explored them. I've just always used code smell. Okay, so this is the issue that we reference here. You can give it a description too. So excessive function count. And here's like an extended message on top of that you guys will see when we actually run the Detekt again, and it detects too many functions. Here's the visit name function, so that's what I was talking about, and it's going to hit every single function in the Kotlin file and then add to that amount. And then here's our threshold here that you can specify. So if you want only 2 or if you want 200, you can go and change them here. What I've been doing too is just doing like a constants file for my rules too. So stuff that I want to be able to change on the fly or pull over, like all my different regular expressions I'm throwing into that constants file. Okay, So here is this is copy pasted. This should work fine. I ran it on my other project. But the problem is, and I'm doing this with my regular expressions, is it's such a pain running detect and then having your rule not pop up or report it. So the unit tests, at least in my mind and what I've seen, have been critical to figuring out if your rule is going to work or not. And then it's also nice, in my case, like regular expressions, is there's a lot of different examples in the comments for kdocs or top of the file banner, that there's so many different varieties and variables that it may be hard to match the regular expression. So these unit tests are great. I can plug in what I want and test it to make sure that my rules are actually going to work. So we're going to create a unit test for this guy as well. So we don't have the test directory, so let's go and create one. Hopefully it doesn't give us a problem. I figured it'd have to give me a test directory. If this gives me problems, because I don't want to do it on the spot, because I think it should say create new test directory somewhere. Maybe I'll just cheat and I'll copy paste it over. Forget why. I think you need to throw it in. Let me just copy it over. There we go. Okay. Let's get rid of... Okay. This is taking a little longer, so we'll just keep this all here. Oh, sorry. Oh, my bad, guys. So this is for tofib rule. So let me actually throw the tofib. I'll copy paste that one over too, so then we could see. Sorry. Tofib rule. Bam. Okay. And then you can see what I'm talking about too is our problems with the tofib. Let's just import all these guys. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. And if you want, you can turn detect on your own module as well. It's just, if you want to get sloppy with your unit tests and other things like that, a lot of people just ignore their test files for detect or certain files and folders. So it's kind of up to you guys. I know I was working on one where it was all included, and then my detect stuff was also getting detected. So then you get more and more warnings. Okay. So here's the tofib rule that I wrote, and here's an example of our top of the file banner. Right, so it's pretty straightforward. One issue is like we have to hyphenate our date when we update them. So normally it's like 2018, and then if it's been updated in the recent year, then it's like -2020. This is the file name, so like this is always changing, but it shouldn't be too hard because you can do like the Java class simple name on it. This is the description of it, and then there's an author as well. We're in talks of changing this stuff. Like, we've used version control for certain things than other ones, but because we're a medical device, they wanted to just make sure we have comments in certain areas. So it's still up for debate, but while we're doing it, I figured I'd try to automate stuff. So here's a tofib. Here's the issue that I was talking about, but instead this one reports an incorrect tofib. We visit the KT file or the Kotlin file, and then I just created a separate function, a couple of different functions here for parsing different stuff with our regular expressions. And I don't know if you guys play with regular expressions a lot, but I'm starting to use an online regular expression like checker, which has been very helpful. So as I'm learning. The main thing for doing a unit test, sorry, so this is the rule still. When we go to the unit test, the main thing, and I haven't figured this out yet, I believe there should be a way where you can just supply like a file, like an entire file. So I want to create just files under my Kotlin test and then supply it to it. But I haven't figured that out. So far I've just been supplying it strings. And that's what they show you on the Detekt, as well as the Medium articles and everything. I couldn't really find anything on supplying it a whole file, so that's something I still want to learn how to do. But for this case, let's just do the normal way. So what you want to do is you create your rule, and then on your rule, you're just going to do .lint, and then you're going to put the string in it. I don't think I need all these parentheses or quotation marks, but they're just carried over from the first project that I did. And then you throw in the string that you want to supply it. So for example, it's this one right here with all our different stuff. Right, our line breaks and things like that. Don't hate me for not putting these all on their own lines and stuff. I know it's sloppy. And you do the same thing over and over again. So one thing that I found, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, because I feel like I'm almost forcing it to make my test cases return something, or I'm creating a test and then adding a return value just so I can make it testable. I'm starting to add it in my code where I'm using the return values so they make sense, but that's something that you can also do for testing. I recommend it, but it's also kind of sloppy too, so it's up to you. But you can add the function and then have that return itself, and then you have your own little unit like parse author, parse creation date. So these make sense, but when I first started, I was just kind of forcing return values just to get my tests to check out. One thing that I highly recommend is to add print statements too. So when you're actually doing it, you can see what's going on when you run it, because if you're doing the log statements, they're not going to show up. Those are, and you can also debug it like a regular like a unit test. So that's very helpful too, as you can throw your debug and then you just run it under debug. Some of these are failing, but I didn't feel like checking them. So you do it, you run it. Oh, what the? That's weird. I didn't expect that. Do I have a wrong package name or something? Maybe because I copy pasted that over. So under source. Yeah. Source test main. That's weird. Oops. That's weird. Okay, I'll show you guys on the other project that it works, but I'll show you. Let's see.
Does it need to be in a package or?
Yeah, it could be. Well, this one's not in the package.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's because I copy pasted it over, and when you have to, you're supposed to like create it like I was trying to do before, and you should be able to get like a test. And maybe you need to clean it and stuff. It should be problems with that because it is seeing my Kotlin folder is green, but this is the same test, so I figured this is good instead of trying to play around. So there's a few failures. I didn't feel like changing them, but yeah, it gives you the normal unit test stuff, which is nice. They run quick. So it's good. I'm using it for rules. I have like 50 or something for one of them that I wrote for a file. So it's good, and it's relatively easy because once you figure out that's the biggest problem that I'm finding because I'm not familiar with it, but like figuring out which one of these guys to use, like which one you want to override and try to do. KT file is good. And then you can grab the text and go through everything. The visit the name function is good. I mean, it's all dependent on what you want to do. There was another one, it was like visit KT element or something. And that gives you like everything. And then you can split it up by line or whatever you feel like doing. Yeah, that's another one too. So that's why I recommend the print statements. Like if you are playing around, you can just add that print statement and then let's see if it went here. Yeah, let's see if I have any print statements. Yeah, I think these are print statements, so you can see it's good for debugging on the fly, and then you can get rid of them or keep them if you feel like it. But just getting things set up, I highly recommend them unless there's another way to do it. Okay, so we have our custom rule set, we have our unit test written. We should be good to go to add this custom rule to our config file, right? So you guys remember that under our custom rule set, we named it that guy, right? So that's our rule set ID. We use it here, and then under our detect YAML, scroll down to the bottom, there's a custom rules. Let me make sure this is right, but it should be under custom rules. Yeah, okay. Custom rules, you're gonna make your parent, bam, 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 and then you're going to do the name of the rule. So too many functions. Bam, active, and we're gonna make that true. Because I have tofib, let's do the tofib too, because I already had to pull that in, so let's do the tofib as well. And I don't know if this is true, I could be crazy, but I've been doing Flutter stuff, and you guys can answer this because maybe you know, but the pubspec.yaml file is like a configuration file for, similar to Gradle, I guess, because you pull in all your dependencies and you do a bunch of different stuff in there. And I was told that indentation matters, and I don't know if that's true for all YAML files or what. But I don't know if it's true for this or all YAML. I just know for Flutter, pubspec.yaml, watch out. Okay, so that's adding the custom rule in there, and then I think that should be it. Yeah, I think that should be it. Let me just double check the build Gradle, because that's where most of the things are specified. Build Gradle. Yeah, I think we're good. We already have our YAML file, fail fast, autocorrect, cool. Okay, one thing that I noticed, and hopefully this doesn't give me a problem, I'm gonna clean it and rebuild it. And this may have been my own exploring and trying to create rules and having them not working. But I found that sometimes Android Studio has a bug, mainly on Windows, where when you have the build under your libs and your .jar, it doesn't want to release the resource. So it doesn't end up recreating it. So then once you do create the custom rule, it doesn't get applied. So what I found is that I invalidate cache restart and I delete that jar and then I rebuild. Let me just give it a wait, fill the, yeah, and that's the that's what it gives you too. Let me just run it and see. Let me put in a fake tofib up here too. That way we can see if it pops up or not. But I may have.
Do you have a virus scanner running by chance?
On my home computer, it's probably just Windows Defender, if they still have that anymore. I don't know if they do.
Okay, because I know that like there's a thing on the IntelliJ docs about disabling your project directories and certain cache directories in IntelliJ for Windows Defender, and or if you have third-party virus scanner, because if they're scanning the files when they get created, if they have that kind of always-on scanning, that can sometimes lock files. I've seen this error before with that. And if you exclude the stuff from virus scanner, then they're not locked.
That's a good one to check. I saw people recommend that, and then because there's a few ones that are related, and that's probably how you're familiar with it too, because there's a few on Stack Overflow, and I saw that some people recommended killing this like Java exe, some version of Java exe, and then trying again, but I still would have issues with it. So I don't know. I'll try that. I don't know if that's a solution or not, but it's because my work computer does it as well. So my home and work computer works, and this is the only way that I've found so far. I tried getting my work to install this thing called Lock Hunter, which is like a program for killing stuff when other stuff is trying to use the resources. Okay, I'm gonna add the tofib up top. Let me see, actually. I'll get rid of some stuff here. Okay, and let's just see if it gives me something for ha-has. I'll invalidate cache and delete the jar too if it's giving me an issue. We have till 8:30, right?
Yeah, good to go.
Okay, cool. Okay, detect custom rules. So sometimes it gives us that too, and I don't really know if it is invalid or not. Let me just double check. Detect custom rules. Let me make sure this is right. Custom rule set. Okay, so we're good there. Detect custom rules. Let's just do this. There we go. This is the cheater way. Okay. I don't know if it'll work on the get-go, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so this one should be rules working. Let me just delete some stuff too to make sure. Yeah, okay, it's not up there, but I believe I saw it was giving me a problem. And then this one's giving me an issue. I'll invalidate cache and restart. Because maybe that build jar is still locked or didn't get updated. One invalid can. Okay, it's giving me the same problem. Let me see if invalidate cache and restart helps. And let me go to, because this is good to see too. I would hate for people to do this and then you end up spending a couple hours trying to figure out why. So let me get the folder location. That way I can just delete it easily. Okay, good. So invalidate, restart. Oh, sorry, I did the wrong. Yeah, there we go. Okay, delete that. There we go. And I'm almost done. Last thing I'm going to do, if these rules work properly, and if they don't, I'll just forget about them. But the last thing that I want to go over is a baseline file, because what you want to do is, especially if you have an existing code base, is you want to get this working and up and running and not having to deal with all the other issues of thousands of errors and warnings and different stuff. So the baseline is good because you can just apply it to your project and hit the ground running. You run it, it'll give all your errors, and then from that point on, if you don't change that baseline file, it'll ignore all those errors, and then anything coming in will be treated as a brand new error, and that's the only warning that'll pop up under Detekt. Okay, we'll let this index, and then hopefully our custom rule will work. Let's see if I have the too many functions to test it. Okay, so here are my functions, and then let's see too many functions. So I have 0. My threshold's 2. So if we have 2 or more than 2, we should get a too many functions issue. So once I do that, yeah, after the baseline, that's all I got. Okay. And then for baseline, all you're going to do is you're going to double click this Detekt baseline, and then within your Gradle, you're going to there we go. There we go. By a baseline line, and you're going to point to the file that gets generated. Come on. Come on. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions while we're waiting for this thing to go?
I saw is the directory under resources is it metainf / serv like and then a subdirectory services? Or
Yeah,
is it metainf.services, the directory?
so when I had that issue that I mentioned that I didn't have it under the services, as soon as I put this under, so it was another directory, just named services.
Okay.
And then
it's showing it as a package.
Yeah, and then I put, yeah,
okay.
and then I threw that under there, and then it adds that dot.
Yeah, it's just a display. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I copied and pasted it. I was like, okay, if you named a directory metainf.services as the name of the directory, maybe it wouldn't find it because I think it has to be a subdirectory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I created a separate, like I did directory. And this one I believe is just a file that you throw that in. Yeah, I want to play with all the different rules. There's different thresholds that you can do. So there's a lot to play with, excluding stuff. Yeah, a lot of them too, like I'm assuming because they're standard, a lot of teams use them. I couldn't figure out what this license template like dot file was. I was assuming that was like the copyright for Android Studio, but I couldn't, unless someone knows, I didn't know what it was, and I was trying to figure it out. I feel like that would have saved me a lot of time. I could figure that one out. Oh, one other thing to note is I do have a Detekt that has been pretty helpful. So they have a Slack Detekt. See, there's one right here. Oh my, indexing. Man, I need more upgrades to my computer.
Problem with invalidate and restart as it takes so long.
I just bought some more RAM for my computer. I need to get a new processor and I need to get a new GPU, but that's in the future. I think we're good. Hopefully these rules work. If they don't, I'm just skipping past this. But they work in the project, so if you guys do pull it from GitHub, you should be able to get it up and running. Big money. 7 weighted issues. Well, let's see what they are. So app, build, reports, detect, HTML. We're open in browser, Chrome. Bam. And too many functions. There we go. So it did work. Nice. So that's my main complaint is that's why unit tests are so important too, is this invalidate and cache takes forever. So you want to make sure your rules are as good or as close as possible as you think. Really test them out, because if you have to run into this issue, it's going to eat up a lot of time. And then we get the no wildcard imports, yada yada yada. One thing I can't figure out is to locate it directly where the issue happens. So that's something I'm working on. That, and then being able to load in a whole file for the unit test instead of a string. Those are the 2 things that I really want to figure out. Okay, last one, detect baseline. So you run it. We had, what was it, 7 weighted issues? So no value has been specified for property baseline. So what's that? That means that we need to add that baseline line to the Gradle. So under your detect, your build.gradle, your project build.gradle, let's go and copy paste what I have in the other project. Give me 1 second. And this is under the detect stuff too, so it's not hard to find. Okay, baseline, bam. Okay. Okay, so we run detect baseline, pow, quick, easy, and now we just need to find that baseline file, whatever it is. There we go, bam. Okay, so here are our issues right here, and then if we run detect again, oh, it's syncing. I don't think it'll be an issue, but it's syncing. Let's see. What the heck?
The baseline's a really great feature. I know I worked with SonarQube before, plugging that into like Bitbucket or GitHub, GitLab, and it has that feature where, yeah, if you've just got so much technical debt, you need to, everything's red, and you need to start from somewhere, and then as you change things, pay down the debt, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then it's one of those things too that people don't want to, like, they get scared. They see all those issues, so they don't want to implement it. So it's good to hit the ground running. And like
Yeah, I didn't
that's
know
what our
Detekt had
project
that.
is too. You run lint, and we have like 10,000 warnings and errors, so it's like you don't want to do anything. So,
It's like broken windows theory. People just just ignore it because it's too much.
yeah, I read that book. We did that for work at Broken Window and The Pragmatic Programmer. It's a good book if anyone wants to check that out. Okay, so I ran Detekt and there's no issues. So if I wanted to, if I pulled this out, then we'll probably get the wildcard import. And it gives you the exact area too, so you can specify where. Um, it mentioned too that you can suppress stuff, so you should be able to use annotations to suppress different areas for warnings. I haven't played with that personally, but you should be able to. I've also read that Git hooks, you can set it up pretty easily, so I personally will probably want to do this, or at least some rules, before I commit code to my branches or other areas, because I get annoyed when like I do things or a final push and then I have a unit test that fails and I didn't realize it. So I want to get like unit tests running automatically, and then I want to make sure my code's formatted before it goes up. So there's a lot of different stuff that you can add with this. And then KT-lint works well too. KT-lint goes with the standard formatting that comes with Android Studio, and I'm assuming other IntelliJ stuff. So it sticks with that for default, and then I believe you can mess around with that. And KT-lint is really good for formatting, I believe. And this is more for complexity analysis and code smells and things like that. Magic numbers, stuff like that. Yeah, that's about it. I got the slides. I still want to add some more stuff to them. And then I have the GitHub, and then there's a few more links on the GitHub for like writing a first rule, the Detekt GitHub, and the template project that comes with KT-lint and Detekt. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm excited about, you know, kind of that ability to create custom rules, because I can see there's a lot of cases where you have something that in your domain that you want to do and enforce, and there's just no way to do it otherwise. So I didn't realize it'd be so easy to create custom rules with this. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna take some practice too, because like but they have those override methods that you have a good idea, and then the print line, it clears up stuff. I mean, the regular expressions are honestly the hardest part for me, because it's like you have different lines and there's different regular expression flags you can throw on there, like you do like .all or multi-line and different stuff, and I don't really understand exactly how to use them. And then if you have to invalidate cache and restart, it ends up taking forever. So like the unit tests are clutch for this, big time.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with that. You shouldn't have to do that invalidate. I'm familiar with it, and that means there's a pretty gnarly bug going on. And I know Android Studio is sometimes a little behind the IntelliJ version, but that's a pretty extreme fix, so something's up.
Yeah, I know, and I don't know if it's exactly that or what. There's some stuff on. Sorry, I'm getting so many different. My phone plugged in and keeps beeping. Yeah, there's a lot of articles or related stuff about resources not getting freed up. So if you have a personal computer, maybe Lock Hunter could be your go-to, and then it just kills it, and then you can delete it. Because when you do run it, so I'm not sharing anymore, but if you right-click on that jar within Android Studio and try to delete it, it'll say it's being used. And the thing is, it's only used after you run the project. So like when you do a fresh Android Studio and you reboot it, I don't think it's using that jar actively, which is weird.
Well, if that's the case, I don't know, maybe it's not the virus scanner, but that's something to check out, because I know I ran into that. We have a situation at, working on government stuff, so the virus scanner is on corporate has gone, we can't turn it off kind of a thing. And it was a long battle to say, look, it's locking the files on the IDE, and we're not writing viruses against ourselves. We really need you to ignore our project directory. And so I hit that, so I knew it was a thing.
Yeah.
The same issue. Have you tried the Detekt IntelliJ plugin?
No, there's one for that?
Yeah, so
Like
you get it, it'll give you your rules as you type.
What?
Yeah, it's in the plug. Well, it's still good to, everything you have is still use it for the build system, right? You'd still want to do it on GitHub and, so nobody can check in violations. But yeah, there should be an IntelliJ plugin for it.
I'm looking at it right now.
But I haven't, like I said, I've only used it with the default rules. So I don't know how. I'm curious about whether it can pick up custom rules and how you do that.
Yeah.
I didn't look at anything more than just installing it, and I get that same no new line of end of file that you showed in the beginning. I'm like,
well, that's great. It says detect issues will be annotated on the fly while coding. So I'm assuming it'll work similar to the lint. So I don't know if that'll work with custom rules. That would be pretty cool.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
Specify your detect configuration and baseline file.
Because we definitely use custom rules to validate some domain things, like we call these properties this, and you're calling it something else. Things like that you wouldn't get a normal checker linter. But such a large code base, we want to make sure that these conventions get followed. So
yeah.
Seems like the way to go to solve that problem.
Yeah, I got tired, honestly, of just doing, I hate being that guy, too, where it's like, you spelled this wrong, you spelled this wrong, you did this wrong.
Yeah.
It's stuff that should be automated.
100%.
Oh, and then one other thing is, for the custom rules, you can auto-correct them, or have them auto-correct. I just don't know how to do it. Yeah, I don't know how to do it. But there's an option to specify. Yeah, so that's all I got. It's promising. I'm working on it. I'd like to do KT lint as well, and maybe some custom lint too, but I just don't know enough and kind of learning as I go.
Thank you. Any questions, Sandeep?
No, that was pretty good, and I especially liked the we can unit test our custom rules, and that maybe sparked my interest into this. I'll have to check. I'll have to explore this one, but that was a good presentation, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. It's not the most exciting stuff, but I think it applies to just about every team. Everyone sees that issue.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I